This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1155. It's the Relevant Podcast. Here in Orlando, I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia, is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello. We are officially left behind, ladies and gentlemen.
You stole my bit. After the intros, I was going to be like, we made it. We're left behind. Goodness gracious. The solar eclipse happened. Okay, from Nashville, our managing editor, downtown Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
You did that last week, too, during Buzz. We had a whole little funny bit planned, and you took the bit before we got there.
Well, I can't help it that I have a premonition for comedy. What do you want?
We're on the same wavelength. It's fine.
And from L.A., from Social Club Misfits, it's Marty.
Howdy.
Howdy.
Guys,
chaos here.
I've secured the bunker. I'm going to refuse the mark. And I'm not sure what kind of confusion there was with, whatever angel was in charge of the
the eclipse yesterday.
The Book of Life, who makes it, who makes the cut. But we're all here. Yeah. So obviously there was some sort of paperwork error.
Well, you know what that means? My mom was right when she said I was leading my generation to hell 15 years ago.
Either that. My theory is my theory is a mix-up. This will all be straightened out soon. But did you guys fall into the eclipse? Did you guys see any of the eclipse prophecies going around?
Right at it. I actually stared right at it.
The prophecies he's saying. You, first of all, didn't. You're in LA. You didn't see hardly any of it.
But everyone's traveling right now, right? Everyone was traveling to go see it.
Did you see the map of the Airbnbs when the areas where Airbnb was fully booked, 100% bookings, was a dot on a map and it was red, and it was like a swash. It was a swash from Austin all the way up to Maine in the arc. God. It was a hilarious map. Well, everybody was traveling to see darkness for 10 minutes.
Well, here's the thing: the Airbnb was not the interesting thing about that arc. It was that arc passed directly through 7 cities in the United States that are named Nineveh. Now,
Greek.
7 is a number of completion. Right. And there's a lot of significance. Now let's look at the prophecy of destruction that was called upon the city of Nineveh from Jonah, who was swallowed by a whale, who happens to be the same constellation involved with the eclipse is a constellation of a whale. Guys, obviously, there's a lot to unpack here, and of deep in time significance. Now I don't know why it's clouded in all these codes, but that's just how these things work. So
I wish you were holding a Monster energy drink, because you remember that video from like 10 years ago? Was that
the Mark of the Beast?
Yeah.
The claws.
I met her in real life. She was at she was at a festival. I swear to God. I swear on everything. She was at a festival, a Christian festival.
Now, it's in her theory, because the claw, like the Monster Energy drink claw, the mark,
Hebrew letters that it represents.
So basically,
like the numbers. Yeah.
So basically, the primary enemy of the end times Christians is like motocross drivers from the early aughts.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Fern might have, in my band, asked her like what she did for a living, if she was like a pastor or something like that.
Yeah.
And she was like a secretary for like 25 years.
Oh, secretary. I was going to say a homeschool mom, but okay.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, what, you work for Jiffy Lube, right? You work for the boss. What qualified you to be able to give this type of an opinion? And then she travels around the country now doing this. And she has shirts that she sells. She does this for like a living now. Like, this is her new hustle. So I don't know.
In that scenario, is X Games like motocross legend Carey Hart like the Antichrist? Like he just has like big Monster Energy vest on and stuff.
If I remember, I think like we were messing with her, and I was like, Casting Crown, they're drinking them in the back right now, like Monsters and some Red Bulls, and she's like, no, her head exploded.
I would love to see her thoughts on Liquid Death, because I feel like that's like everywhere now at festivals.
That is her new water. Yeah.
Liquid Death is a great product because they just figure like once a generation, someone finds out how to remarket tap water and they just kill it. I mean, absolutely kill it. Like
it's the same product.
It was bottled water. And then before that, it was like those big jugs that they bring into office buildings with the little paper cup.
Yeah.
Like they keep like somebody in a room is like, how are we going to remarket something that is abundantly free to everyone? Or at least in this country, and how can we repackage it and sell it for a markup? And they keep doing it. And the Liquid Death people crack the code once again, put a cool logo on it. And I think about half the people that buy it either think they're buying like an energy drink or some sort of adult beverage fusion, like a new Four Loko, only to crack the can to find out it's just water.
It's metallic tap water because it's in a metal can. It's like, nothing better than metallic.
Designed by the guy who does Affliction. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the design. The guy who made Affliction, the shirt company.
I think it's a motocross driver.
You're right. You're probably right.
In last week's edition of Vanderpump Rules, they had a water party where they brought in a water sommelier, and they did a water tasting like you would a wine tasting of all these different waters. And there was one bottle that looked like a champagne bottle. And he said, this is the rarest, most expensive water in the world. It's $1,000 a bottle. And he opened it and they tasted the water. And somebody goes, why is this so rare? And he goes, it's the convergence of two pure rivers. And they dip it from that one spring and whatever. And it's $1,000 a bottle.
That from the tap water.
Yeah.
And they're just the
two pure rivers are a little bit of the hot and a little bit of the cold on the faucet. And by the way, I'm having this, I just randomly grabbed this out of the right before we went out. Cameron and Emily were on. I was like, guys, just let me go grab a water real quick. I just randomly grabbed one from the fridge here. And this is maybe I keep looking at it. This is the best water I've ever had. There's a plug. This is free. It's Kroger Seltzer. Kroger watermelon flavor. My mind is blown, guys. This is the best I've ever had, and I drank tons of seltzers.
But all those. This is the thing that about brands, about pet food, anything like the premium brands and the store brands are in the same, made by the same place. It's not
manufacturers.
It's not like, they use better ingredients over here. No, they put a better label on it and they charge more. Wow. That's it. Wow. You're drinking something that's probably triple the cost, Jesse, by somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually a Food Lion brand type of guy. I don't know if you guys have those, but I'll do Kroger. Kroger's a slight
Food
step
Lion
up.
is the Piggly Wiggly.
I was about to say, isn't that like the Piggly Wiggly?
Atlantic. Yeah.
I've only seen a Piggly Wiggly once, and that was in Wisconsin.
You're going to save about 10 cents a seltzer there. And
we have this running joke that if you ever go to like a Piggly Wiggly or like a supermarket in like the middle of the country, you'll find the most beautiful people there, but they just don't know they're pretty. So it's like an odd thing because it's like you have these people who like then you see their husband and you're like, wow, like there's just a small town. And I don't know. I think I'm going off a tire.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't want to explain. There's two things that we always joke around. Number one, it's about how in small towns you'll have like people that if they were in New York, they'd be models. They'd be anywhere else. But for some reason, God was like, you're in Kentucky now. Then the second theory that we have is that if you're from a major city, there is like an ego when you go into a small town, right? Like you're from like New York. You're like, you think that you're like, these people just don't know. I'm in Kentucky. They just don't know. And so like those two theories followed us for like 10 years traveling the world.
But you're describing the plot of every like Lifetime like Christmas movie where like
big city, hometown.
The guy's muscular, looks like really handsome. And he's like,
and he works at the Christmas tree farm in town that I inherited from my father. And you're, this high profile photographer from New York City that is slumming it with because your grandfather died on Christmas Eve or something.
Yeah.
And, but that theme, Marty, is the plot, is the crux of an entire genre of holiday film.
And I've seen every single one of them.
The only time I'm really in small towns is, Jesse, each summer when we road trip up to Virginia. And we have to stop at the Tesla charging stations throughout, the journey. One of them is in the parking lot of a Food Lion. It's the only time I've ever been in a Food Lion. Is the last 2 summers. both going and coming from your house. We stop at this Food Line. It's a very pivotal charging station. Yeah. And we have like 20 minutes to kill. So we wander around Food Line, and I'm walking up and down the aisles going, Jesse loves this place. You know, I'm looking for things that Jesse would endorse. You know, we're looking for snacks.
That's the thing. I mean, most grocery stores have one snack aisle. Food Line's got like 4. Like half the grocery stores, like Little Debbie, knockoff Little Debbie, Dorito extended aisle. They know their customer base. Okay. And they don't have like,
you're not seeing the good looking small town people walking around Food Line is all I'm saying.
You're getting
Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah, most Food Lines don't have like bakeries and delis and stuff. No, we're talking bare essentials.
I'm about to say, like, it sounds like that one grocery store that you have to pay to get a cart.
Aldi.
Like it feels like North Korea when you're inside, like it's dim.
It does not.
They're nice. What is going on here?
Aldi's
like, there's
great.
No lighting. There's corners with no lighting.
There's built a brand new one. It's beautiful right near my house.
Aldi is great, but the vibe is ominous because it is so different than any other grocery store. I had
a bad Aldi experience, and my wife goes, I refuse.
Hey, one of the best bread sandwiches. She made a sandwich with Aldi, like loaf bread that was so good. She's like, oh, it's Aldi. You got to go to Aldi. I went to Aldi just to get the bread your wife got.
Oh, wow. I don't go there anymore because I was treated poorly, and they acted like I'm an idiot. I'd never been before, and I didn't know.
I need to hear the story.
Marty, to your point, I didn't know their system of unspoken, Swedish, East German rules that they're operating under. Yeah. This is America. Regime. Sorry.
There's a little bit of a communist vibe in there. Yeah. Everyone's in like brown clothing, olive clothing, So for people that don't know, that it is like, I think it's German, a chain. And they operate at like, they keep their costs very low because they don't. If once you go in, it's very Spartan in there. But including outside, they don't pay people to go wrangle. They don't have cart wranglers. That's what we call it in the biz. I worked at Kmart's, cart wrangler. They don't have the cart wranglers there. They don't. That's not a position. So what they do is to save money on having people to go wrangle carts in the parking lot. You have to check out a cart with a quarter. And when you're done shopping, you redeposit the cart and it dispenses the quarter, right? Sort of like the luggage things at the airport. So that way you're incentivized to return
like the luggage things at the airport. Yeah.
But I didn't know this rule, and I don't carry coins because I'm not in my 70s. I don't have just coins and loose coins in my pocket. Sorry, I just don't. I have no need for that. So I go in there. I didn't know this rule. And like, I can't find a cart anywhere. So I'm just like kind of carrying everything, and I put it up on the cash register. And the other thing is you bring your own bags, and I didn't have bags. Right. So I cash out. It goes down the conveyor belt. At the time I had 2 young kids with me, and I pay, and there's no one bagging it. Right. It's just all these loose groceries. And so I grab what I see is a cart right there, and I start loading them into the cart. They're whoa. They're like, that's the cashier cart. I was like, I'm sorry. They're like, that's the cart we use as the cashiers to like, just return things. I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? They're like, well, you can get a cart from outside. And I was like, I don't have any change. They're like, well, you use their bags. I was like, I don't have any bags. I had to carry loose groceries like 3 trips across the parking lot with little kids. It was a busy parking lot. It took I'm walking back and forth with just loose groceries in my hand, putting them in the passenger seat of my car. Like it was like, when you move houses and you do the last sweep of the house, the U-Haul's gone.
Oh God.
And it's just like, I'm just taking stuff out of cabinets and I'm just tossing them in the back. That was like that. It was like the worst part of moving.
Oh man.
For the grocery store trip.
Oh God, I hate that story.
Just put a quarter in your armrest and just leave it there in case you ever pop into an Aldi next time.
Or they sell these on Amazon because my friend has one. She has a little keychain that specifically holds 1 quarter for when she goes to Aldi. It's her Aldi quarter.
You see the work that's required to go? You see the work that we have to do just to go to Aldi and get some communist plums?
They have lovely rolls, and it's worth the hassle to get those rolls.
Now that I think about it, I do think Aldi is the ideal place to work because you don't have to get carts. You get to sit. They're like the only grocery store that they give their grocers stools. There's not a ton of like aisles that they're having to deal with. Like grocery store wise, it seems maybe the best place to work. I need someone to confirm that for me.
You just got to be cool with listening to like the Russian national anthem constantly playing. Sounds like when you walk in, it's like listening to Halo, the video game. You're like, everything's brown.
They want you in and out. Yeah,
they want you in and out.
Yeah, no free cards here, comrade.
I didn't know how the opening would go, but I did not think we would end up on an Aldi rant. So,
well, here we are.
All right. Well, we have a great show in store for you today. Coming up later, we talk to worship leader Chris McClarney. He has some new music out. I like him a lot. I saw him at the Jesus Culture Conference years ago. He's great. Also, at the end of the show, we have table topics. We haven't done table topics in a long time, so I grabbed some cards. See? Nice. There you go. All right. Stay tuned. Up next, it's Slices. You're listening to Side Ponies. The song is Yes, Please.
Season 4 of The Chosen is in theaters now, and the reviews that count are in.
Amazing. Did not disappoint.
Flurry of emotions. It was powerful, heartbreaking, uplifting.
You have got to come and see it. It is a message for everybody. I highly recommend that you come out and see The Chosen Season 4.
Episodes 1 through 3 of The Chosen Season 4 are in theaters till February 14th. So visit thechosenriseup.com and get your tickets now. That's thechosenriseup.com for tickets today.
Okay, it's time for
Slices.
What are y'all laughing at Side
Because
Ponies?
I just for some reason got transported into like the era of like No Doubt, and like when bands would have like really interesting names like Shoe Polish, Diary, and then I just love that. I love that era. So I'm happy that Shoe Ponies.
Dude, indie bands never left that era. I mean,
they never did.
If you look at the
Postal Service, everything.
Heard on the relevant podcast playlist on Spotify, it's all the music we play in the breaks. It is a who's who of weird band names. So, yeah.
But see, sometimes I think you intentionally pick the weird ones because you just want to say them on the show.
I'll be honest with you. That is not the case at all. I literally am just listening to the new releases every week, whatever. And I throw whenever music like has the right kind of energy or vibe, I'll throw it into a playlist called Podcast Possibles. It's a little private playlist I have. And so throughout the week, I'm just throwing songs in there. And it is fully on the actual song, not the band name. It's when I see it and I'm reading, for the podcast, I'm like, oh, that's a hilarious band name. I didn't know. I just heard it first. You know what I mean? So
somebody the other day was like, hey, man, you need to check out this band, Hot Mulligan. And they started describing what they sound like. I was like, I'm going to stop you there. I'm in. I'm gonna check them out. By the way, they're very cool.
That sounds like an Irish,
yeah,
with Irish music.
I'm absolutely in. Yeah, you don't need to tell me anything else. You told me the name, and it sounds like something I would at least give a spin here.
It's Celtic Screamo. It's a really good band.
Anyway. Every once in a while, I'll come across like a news headline and be like, "Well, that like a story about murder hornets." Well, there we go. That if it just said band name. Yeah, new album from
funny.
Murder Hornets.
I'm in. That's a good game right there.
Dude, when you said your friend was like, you got to check out Hot Mulligan, I was like, dude, be careful. Don't be like, because you have this, some people have the tendency to be like, oh, yeah, they're great. I love them. But you can make up whatever, and they're not a real band. So it's like, you can trap your like hipster friends or your cool friends.
Yeah.
And so you got to be like, oh, yeah, cool. I'll check them out.
No, they are real. And if you guys like old, like, it's sort of a new spin on old pop punk, but it's fun. Anyway, cool.
Is it dad rock?
I didn't need. I would not classify them as dad rock. I'm probably too old to listen to them. But but again, just the name alone, I knew warranted at least a listen. Yeah.
All right. What do you have, Jesse?
All right. Well, I read the story, and maybe it's because I like Hot Mulligan. Maybe it's because I relate to this, but I feel like maybe I belong in Generation Z because of a recent study that found that 25% of Gen Z adults so that they need to speak with a therapist to get help dealing with the stress of tax season. So 25% said they need to seek therapy because of tax stress. Additionally, 54% said that 54% that said that filing taxes has either brought them to tears before or they expect it this year. They said 62% of first-time filers in Gen Z don't even know where to get their W-2s or 1099s, and that this is maybe the most unprepared generation to file taxes. Now, thankfully, Emily, who sent me this story, she quoted in her piece from someone who identifies themselves as a financial therapist at a company called Mind Money Balance, which I did not know was a job, a financial therapist. Evidently. She said, people in these generations are used to products and services that make their lives easier. So basically, if you need food, it's only a couple taps away. If you need this or that, everything's on demand. But people in this generation are used to products. Taxes feel tedious and stressful. Worst of all, the consequences are pretty high. And anyone who's filed taxes before, no, there's not really, you do have to fill out some paperwork. And it's not everything is distilled into an app that has been optimized for user interface design. These are government documents here. But I felt like I relate to this story. Every time like something.
You're married to a CFO. You haven't done taxes in 20 years.
Thank God. Thank God.
If you're wondering, he's married to the CEO of Aldi. Just letting you know right now.
She came up with a quarter system. They're very opposite personalities. No, but it does. I always feel like that Chris Pratt,
you're pro cart wrangler. She's anti cart wrangler.
I've been on record with the cart wrangler thing. I don't need. If I can rant again, if you guys need it, I think it's one of the greatest jobs in America. I really do, because your manager isn't going out in the parking lot. You can take all day. I used to when it was my job to do the rounds at Kmart. I'd pop in Subway because it was in the strip mall.
Dude, did you see Subway is now doing $6 6-inch subs? It's like their new campaign, $6 6-inch. And I'm going, I don't feel like it was that long ago they were doing $5 footlongs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It's
how
Bidenomics.
I mean, I haven't been there.
That ain't 10% inflation. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense.
That's corporate greed.
That's greed.
What it is.
That is. I went to Subway here, and they don't the ones at the beach at the oceanfront here. I have one right across the street from my office. They it's like touristy, so they don't have normal pricing. And I had a gift card that I got in the mail. They don't accept it. I ended up spending like $20 for a foot long. It was outrageous.
My gosh. That's outrageous.
Crazy. But
this is going to be controversial. I don't like Subway because I feel like Dwight in that one scene where he's like, why would I pay for someone for something I can do myself? It's a very simple sandwich. I can make that at home. I don't feel the need to pay $6 for a sandwich I can make myself.
Well, what about a pub sub?
You read my mind, Cam.
Pub sub, valid. I can't make that.
Okay.
I'm talking there's some
you're not a Jamaican woman. Yeah, I got you. You're not a Jamaican woman that knows how to command respect behind the counter. I get that.
They're sandwich artists.
Statement, but that's not what I was talking
about. They're sandwich artists, Emily. And two, they make them unique because they are trained sandwich artists. I will say this. You're telling me the 17-year-old kid working at Subway is a sandwich artist?
The one that sneezed in his hand before he served
business. I feel like Jimmy John's, or not Jimmy John's. I mean, they're great too. I feel like Jersey Mike's is really good. That's worth Jersey paying Mike's for. And then Publix has great.
But
there's some sandwich shops that are good. It's specifically Subway. Every time I've gone, I'm like.
Last time I got it was on a road trip. Is at a truck stop, and it was terrible.
Here's the reason that I actually really like Subway, but the reason I don't get it often. Bell. Yeah, I love Taco Bell. But the reason
here, Jesse, there's a pattern here.
The reason I don't like Subway is because it's like you're a smoker all of a sudden. People smell it. You can walk in somebody's office and be like, "Do you have Subway?" And they're like, "Yesterday, I had it yesterday." If you I wouldn't
yesterday.
You can smell Subway on Subway. I wouldn't buy somebody's car who was a Subway employee because it's like buying a smoker's car. It's just as soon as you get in, you're like, Did you used to work at Subway?
What's the smell that you're talking about? The bread or the?
It's like Jim Gaffigan.
It's very distinct. It's very distinct.
I think Jim Gaffigan referred to it once as bread exhaust. It's like this sort of of it, but it stays on you.
It's bread but it's not.
They don't use Boar's Head. They use their own product. It's just different.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. I don't want to smell like it all day.
Yeah. All right. Are you done with your slice?
Yes.
Okay. All right. What do you have, Emily?
Okay, yeah, this is something I personally have been thinking about for like a week now. I even wrote about it on the site. As y'all know, I love random pop culture facts, particularly ones that have no impact on anything, but are just like interesting to know. It's like my love language. So that being said, last week GQ dropped a new profile interview with Hunter Schafer, who is known for playing like Jules on Euphoria. I actually don't watch the show, but
because we're Christians. Yeah,
I love that show.
You don't watch orgies? Oh, me neither.
Yeah,
it's only 2 episodes, guys.
But I just am interested, and so I read the interview, and there's like a little random fact that was actually huge news for me. Hunter is a pastor's kid. Both her mom and dad work for churches.
That makes sense.
It makes sense? What do you mean?
Yeah, it does. Because every person who comes from almost every person I've ever met who comes from a product of pastoral or church family has a couple years where they have to find themselves. And right now we're
it's
in
like the Amish
years.
doing that year of like
what? Yeah, that documentary. Yeah, exactly. That documentary where it's just getting worse. Like they just do crack, like instant crack. Like it's such a crazy
everything.
Yeah. Have you heard about that, Emily? It's like a documentary about people. Yeah. They, in the first day, within the first hour, like they get their money and they just do crack. That's just it.
No, I weirdly know a lot about the Amish. My mom loves a good Amish romance novel, and I make her tell them about me because it's a genre I'll never be interested in.
You make her tell them about you?
Sorry, I make her tell me about the books she reads.
Well, for someone who's not interested in it, you sound pretty interested in them.
My interest is in the fact that there's a whole genre of Amish romance novels that I think my mom's the only one reading, but it's just very funny to me.
That's amazing.
Before Christian bookstores died, if you went into a Christian bookstore, it was the Bibles are over there and the Amish romance is right there in front. Like, and then you have like
my mom
self-help.
said, I already have a Bible. Yeah. I'm going to the Amish.
Yeah, and then you had the self-help like sermon series stuff over on the right side. But like the Amish romance was half their sales. I mean, your mom's not alone.
It's just Jedediah.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Longingly at Sarah
It's
Beth. That's what it is the whole time.
It's like listen, it's just like Lifetime found their perfect.
It's true.
Like, trope. So did these. Let's not hate on people who they know it works, and that's fine.
Well, okay, I do want to talk about this for a second. My mom recently, she didn't finish it, but she started one about Amish in Hawaii, and she said she couldn't finish it because it was too unrealistic. I was like,
because the Amish don't travel by airplane?
How did they arrive there?
I think they went by boat.
Oh, wow.
But if there's
From
engines...
California or Seattle?
By sailboat?
Sailed.
The Amish are sailing now?
Like,
canoe.
I think, and she was
They're
like,
mobile.
This is just,
the Amish are mobile.
Like, this is too ridiculous.
Everyone get down. They're mobile.
This was so good.
All right. What's your slice? I forget.
Oh, well, I was talking about pastors' kids.
Oh, sorry.
But it just got me thinking about, like we were talking about famous pastors' kids. And there are actually quite a few celebrities who like grew up as PKs that I thought were kind of interesting. And I won't go through all of them, but I do think I'll share a few that y'all might find interesting. There's John Boyega from Star Wars.
Yeah.
His dad's a Pentecostal minister.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Okay.
And another Star Wars PK is Adam Driver. His stepdad is a Baptist pastor in Indiana. He was actually in the church choir too.
That's how, like, I read your piece. That's how he got started in entertainment, was like church choir. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, like, then obviously eventually there will be an article about people who got their start in church choir, because that's going to be my next deep dive. I assume there's probably only like 5, but.
Whoa, no. Any R&B artist, John Legend, Beyonce.
Beyonce.
I mean, like, yeah.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was probably
it's a thing. Yeah.
Another one that I thought was really interesting was Marcus Mumford, because his parents were actually a really big part in the Vineyard Church movement
in the UK. Yeah.
Which like
still are. His entire family's in the ministry. Yeah. The brothers, sisters. Oh, wow. He's the black sheep. Yeah.
Yeah. But his parents started like the first Vineyard Church in London in the 1980s. Oh, wow. So like they're like very involved in it. Another one was Kellis, the milkshake singer. Kellis. Sorry. Yeah. Her dad was a pastor, obviously. She went down a different path than that. And then
when like I get kids, going and living a different way, right? And there's tension at Thanksgiving. But when you become a superstar early in your career for a song that is sexual, Milkshake, like what's that next family Christmas like? Like,
I think you're skipping a couple Christmases.
Really?
I think you just ignore it. I think everyone just plays it. It's like the family who has that one family member who's just been doing the political rants all year on Facebook, and you're like, everyone's just not going to acknowledge this, right?
For the peace of the family gathering, exactly. We're not going to ask you about your explicit
or they're
career.
Just super happy about it, and they're like, "Yeah, you got like a great song."
That's
and
my question.
Good.
Like, is Pastor Dad
they
proud of sexy
like,
daughter, or is he ashamed, or is he angry?
Because the other thing, I don't want to speak to morality of, but a lot of people, they're kind of, it's a persona. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you found a character that kind of people that you've monetized. Like, I'm not making any sort of moral statement, but I'm saying, like, if you meet a lot of these people behind the scenes, you realize how much, Marty, you're in the music business, how much is where persona and person often diverge at some point.
Yeah, they're two different.
Yeah.
Well, and you even said, Marty, last show, like about when you go out on stage, you don't like invite your friends to come watch because it's like, I'm playing a character when I'm out there. I'm
not like, it's not so much a character. It's so much it's just like I'm on. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like it reminds me of like the first time I saw my sister like volunteer. And I remember going to like the soup kitchen and I saw my sister organizing it and I was like, whoa, I've never seen you, like, you're an adult. And almost like, it's just like a different type of, when you see, it's almost like seeing your teacher out of class and you're like, it's like the same thing. You're like, what are you doing here at the movies, Mrs. Johnson? She's like, I'm a real person. I didn't know. I thought you lived at the school. Just had no idea,
Mm-hmm.
It's like breaking the walls in your mind as a kid.
Interesting. Who else, Emily? Khalees.
Phil Jackson. You actually had to explain how this one was a crazy one to me. So for the other sports challenge people, he's apparently like the greatest basketball coach of all time.
Triangle offense, man. Yeah,
he's up there. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what
the famous Michael Jordan Bulls teams, the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe.
His brother's Randy Jackson from American Idol.
He signs swords from time to time. But he's very much known for like his New Age Buddhist Zen philosophy. Like as a coach, the way he motivated these high competitive multimillionaires, like how do you get them to care? He would like take them aside and give them books, and he would be teaching them New Age philosophy. And it turns out he grew up in the Pentecostal church.
Yeah, no, his parents were very strict Assemblies of God preachers.
Yeah.
And like he had like a really, really strict upbringing. And so that's why this one's a little shocking because it's definitely like a 180.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a ton of others. Like I said, I wrote about it because I couldn't get it out of my head. So check out the rest on the site.
Yeah. Good work.
All right. What do you have, Marty?
What's going on, guys? I would start like that, right? What's going on, guys?
It makes me laugh so much. It's like we woke you up.
Can we interrupt? Actually, now that you ask, I'm a little under the weather.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm alive.
I didn't have any coffee this morning because my housekeeper's cleaning the machine.
Get new gutters coming up. So, guys.
I have a great slice. Two of my favorite comedy writers, directors are teaming up. Tim Robinson and Adam McKay. If you don't know who Tim Robinson is, you've probably seen Netflix. I Think You Should Leave, one of the funniest comedy sketches. All of those, he's on record saying this in an interview. All of those are from when he was working at SNL. Those are all the skits that they rejected. He brought it over to Netflix.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
The driving crooner, they rejected?
All of those. Even the one he was talking about, even though there was one of them that he was recently talking about. It's in the first season. He was like, they looked at me with like disgust, but it's funny because that's what makes, has SNL really ever been funny in the last 10 years? Like once or twice they hit it, but this show is skyrocketing. Everyone talks about it. So You Think You Should Leave. I Think You Should Leave. So him and Zach Kanan, they wrote that show. They're teaming up with Adam McKay of Step Brothers, Anchorman. Just so many. He literally created comedy that we know, like Will Ferrell comedy. They're teaming up together for a new series on HBO. And it's gonna be. I need to know what you guys think about this because it's like it's definitely a weird premise. Perfect. All right, yeah. It's a chair company, of all places, and a man begins to investigate a far-reaching conspiracy after experiencing an embarrassing work accident.
So I don't think it's called The Chair Company, and it's like the Tim Robinson guy had an embarrassing incident with his chair at work. He starts investigating the Chair Company.
It's all about that conspiracy of the Chair Company.
It's incredible. Yeah. Everything about this is great.
It's going to be because like I've seen what he does with like a 5-minute skit with that idea. So the fact that this is going to be
an entire series,
fleshed out, is going to be so great, insane.
I'm excited because here's the thing, because I love Tim Robinson and I love. But having watched it at each season over and over again, there are like again like the crux of each bit is it falls on two things, like somebody who something embarrassing happens to, and the rest of the time is trying to overcompensate for that embarrassment.
I think the receipt one is the one that SNL was like, we don't want the receipt one. Where do you know that one, Jesse? The receipt,
where he eats the gift receipt, or like when he's going to try to like it's a pull, not a push door, and he just forces it open. Like that is one construct of his bits.
He's trying to be cool when he's leaving,
overcompensating for something mildly embarrassing happening. Or someone who takes things too literally, but like here's a word or phrase and just takes it too literally. I'm glad this seems very on brand to him, that it's about the former rather than the latter, but I'm sure both kind of tropes will show up here.
I mean, I'm excited about it because on HBO, we've lost. I mean, this is the last season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
That's over. Barry's
over. Yeah. And Barry was, to me, an incredible show. I love Bill Hader. I think he's one of the funniest guys in the world. I mean, Larry David is one of the funniest men in the world as well. So now you have these two giants working on something together.
There you go. All right. Well, that'll do it for Slices. Make sure to check out everything we're covering at relevantmagazine.com at the intersection of faith, culture, and everything in between. All right. Stay tuned. Up next, Chris McClarney joins us.
You know what I'm talking about. It don't matter which side is your good side. Say cheese. Stepping out, purple Mercedes. Fall in love, why don't you make me? You want a picture, just say please. Oh, baby. Wearing this fit that they gave me. Maybe this isn't from Macy's. If you want a picture, just say please. Oh,
You're listening to Paul Russell. The song is Say Cheese. Hey, if you like this podcast, but you might like it better if there were no ads, you can do that. Head over to relevantmagazine.com and sign up for Relevant Plus. For just a couple bucks a month, you get this podcast ad-free. You get ad-free unlimited reading at relevantmagazine.com, including the full podcast and magazine archives, our beautifully designed digital issue, and a little more. Check out all the info right there on the Relevant Plus tab at relevantmagazine.com. Well, our guest today is Chris McClarney. He's a worship leader with Jesus Culture and has written some of our favorite worship songs like God of Miracles and Let the People Sing. We sat down with him to talk about his new music, why he wants to make, quote, sad joy songs, and his unique approach to songwriting. Here's Emily's conversation with Chris McClarney.
You just dropped a new song called Empty, and when it released, you shared that it was originally written for your local church. It made me wonder, do you approach songs differently when you write one for your local church versus the global church?
Oh, 100%. And most of my writing is just for church. Now, I'm also in a group called Jesus Culture, and so I'm either thinking, what song do I need for my church? Or I'm thinking, what song would be good for the movement of what Jesus Culture is doing? Like Big C Church, you know? And maybe those kind of, there's not a fine line between them. There's probably a lot of gray in what it becomes Jesus Culture songs and what stays just part of my church stuff. But I definitely approach it differently, because when we're singing, I think on a Sunday, it's super important because of the fact that what we sing, they're going to go home singing. No, people aren't going home chanting the words the pastor spoke that morning. They're singing the songs. And I think because of that, there is a responsibility to write songs that are theologically rooted in Scripture. And what I'll do is send them, like I've got a group of 5 pastors or so, and I'll send them my lyrics and just say, tear them apart. Like, feel free to be like, wait, what does that mean? Like, what are you saying? And the goal being that what we're writing for church is stuff that reminds them of Scripture, something that they can sing over their own lives and remind themselves that, you know, God is going to work it out and God has this under control, or whatever the song is and whatever the church is going through. I try and write those songs. I don't know.
I do appreciate the due diligence to getting worship right. You know, we don't have to give examples, but I'm sure we can think of songs that have had some off theology in the lyrics.
Yeah, and I don't always get it right. Like, you know, there's been times where I look back and say, oh, I wish I would have said it different. Not that I was saying something theologically wrong, but just maybe confusing based on what people normally think. Like the way people got mad at reckless love. Like, can you say God is reckless? You know, I try and write songs where we think about that ahead of time. I don't know. I love that song. I've led it at church, so I get both sides, and I just try and be conscious of making sure that it's legit. And also, what we do writing songs is so, like, trying to be clever and rhyme, and sometimes you get too clever. And so it's nice having people that'll give you the feedback of, are you being clear or clever right now? Because what we sing at church, I think it's important to be clear. I think it's fun to be clever, but not at the sacrifice of clear.
Let faith arise, for my champion's not dead, he is alive. Oh, and he already knows my every need.
Yeah, I absolutely remember the weird backlash with Reckless Love, like you mentioned. I am curious, have you ever gotten criticism for any of your songs like that?
Well, the first song that I wrote that had traction was a song called Your Love Never Fails. And the bridge was, you make all things work together for my good. And when it came out, so when I wrote it, like I have a note somewhere and it has each line of the song and the scripture that it comes from. So like I'd gone way out of my way. I wanted it to tie perfectly to scripture. And so I wasn't worried about it. But when it came out, I got a lot of pushback because it said in scripture, at least in one of the translations, it says he works all things together for his good or for the good. And people were mad, like, he's not going to work it for my good. And I was like, I think you're missing what I'm singing about, man. I think you've missed the whole point.
When you put a song out there that gets that sort of backlash, how do you deal with it?
That's a good question. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I can't make everybody, like, I'm going to get it wrong, first of all. And even if I'm right, I can't make everybody know that I'm right. Like, half the people might still think it's wrong. So at the end of the day, I just try and set it up so that I'm being safe on the front end, and then just trust that God is going to use it. My heart I try to keep my heart pure in the front end process and let God handle the back end process. And obviously I'm gonna mess up. I'm a regular guy, you know. So yeah, it doesn't super bother me. Those songs, because I don't know, it's not like you're haunted by these songs forever. If people are making fun of them and they're super popular, who cares? Like, some people are getting it and they're singing it everywhere. Like, Corey Asbury's probably like, sure, whatever you say, reckless is bad, whatever. Like, at the end of the day, what matters is that God is lifted up and honored, and what we do as worship leaders. And I'm going to try my best to do that. And if I miss the mark, then hopefully I'll learn from it and be better next time.
Well, like we talked about earlier, you just dropped a new single, but when can we expect more new music from you?
Yeah, working on a bunch. The goal right now is I want to release an album of only happy songs or joy songs. They might be sad joy songs, but the reason why is, for me, starting in 2019, really, my wife had gotten sick with a stomach thing. We couldn't figure out what it was. It ended up being Crohn's, but she had gotten down to 80 pounds. I mean, it was bad. And thank God she's better now. But that started, and then 2020 happened, and then the elections and all the craziness that follows, and it's still happening now. And one thing I noticed is the church, myself included, has just lost joy. We're just not happy people like we used to be. And Scripture says the joy of the Lord is our strength. So if the church is in a depressed state, I want to do my part to try and write like 8 happy songs that are like, hey, let's turn our hearts to, yes, there's a ton of reasons to be, mad at the world and life in general, and there's a ton of reasons to be sad, but there's equally, maybe even a ton more to be joyful and happy about. And yeah, so plus I'm a happy guy, so I just want to make a whole record of just happy songs. Chase me down when I was lost. Where would I be if it wasn't for the cross?
Okay, I'm trying to wrap my mind around a sad joy song because that feels like an oxymoron. What do you mean by that?
There's some real joy in the darkest moments of my life, like in a weird way. And for instance, when my wife was super sick, when she was super sick, my daughter basically hit puberty and lockdown happened at the same time, and she got suicidal. It freaking broke me, like all the way broke. Like, I was trying to find God. I was trying to find my own brain. Like, something happening to one of my daughters was like, I can't. When I look back on that, it was the hardest moment ever. When I look back on it, I have this joy because of it. My daughter and I and my wife and my other 2 kids all got into counseling, and we got super healthy together. I think there's joy in the pain, and part of, what Scripture and what the kingdom and the gospel, the good news, allows us to do is to say, hey, wait, yes, this is true. This pain is true, but there's an even deeper truth that somehow God's going to work all this out, and put our hope in that.
That was Chris McClarney. Make sure to go check out his new single, Empty, wherever you get your music. All right, stay tuned. Up next, it's Table Topics.
Thunder and lightning, you come down. You know my enemies, you bend their knees. You can't stand the sight, it's right. You don't want out the light. When I pay protection, if you need several directions.
You're listening to IMRSQD, Immer Squad. The song
Close
is
enough. Close enough.
Immer
Pick a word, the craziest name to announce.
IMRSQD. Anyway, the name the song is.
I am rescued.
Oh, there you go. I am rescued. Scotoma is the song. Today's show is brought to you in part by The Chosen. Season 4 of The Chosen is coming to theaters nationwide on February 1st, and this season has everything. Clashing kingdoms, rival rulers, and when they're threatened by the reality of Jesus' growing influence, religious leaders do the unthinkable, choose to ally themselves with the Romans. As the seeds of betrayal are planted in opposition to Jesus' message turns violent, he's left with no alternative but to demand his followers rise up. So get ready, relevant podcast listeners. February 1st is the big release day. Go get your tickets now at thechosenriseup.com. All right. So we're going to do some table topics. I have a stack of cards here, and I'm just going to randomly do some popcorn. We'll just go around the room, ask you guys some questions, get to know you a little bit better. Marty, growing up, what was your favorite after-school snack?
Dunkaroos, without a question. They don't. I think they started bringing them back, but Dunkaroos.
Yeah, Food Lion has them.
Food Lion has, but they have their own version. It's not a kangaroo. It's a raccoon, and so there's that.
A bouncing raccoon.
It's the little thing you have with the icing is really like a trash can. It's the whole thing. It's Food Lion. It's on brand.
Jesse, what was your after school snack?
I was a big Little Debbie guy. My favorite was the chocolate brownies with the little peanuts on top. It was a big Little Debbie house.
I was a Cheez-Its girl, and I still am. I've always been a salty snack person over a sweets person.
Do you like the extra toasty Cheez-Its?
Absolutely not.
What?
I get the original.
That's all I buy is extra toasties.
I gotta try those.
No, it's too much.
Too much.
I like
too
original.
toasty.
Why mess with perfection?
No
I don't
way.
get reduced fat. I don't need to feel guilty about this. I'm eating original.
No, I always get reduced fat or extra toasty, so I'm offended. And when I've had regular Cheez-Its, they're like greasy compared to the reduced fat ones.
I'm not eating Cheez-Its to be healthy.
All right.
I'm okay with a little grease.
I don't want my food to leave a residue on my hand, anyway.
I know what I'm getting into when I dip my hand into
I don't like
box of
anything that's
Cheez-Its.
over toasted. Just a hard and fast rule. And I'll stand by that.
Extra toasty Cheez-Its are awesome.
No, regular toasted.
Okay.
Maybe if you're a psychopath.
Let's see. Jesse, what would you like to be hypnotized for?
Like to do? I'm going to say... I think it'd be interesting to be hypnotized to want to do a big work project. You know what I mean? Instead of having to plow through or a writing assignment or something. Hypnotize me to make me really just lock in and want to do it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Exactly.
You don't get distracted at work. Boom, you're the most productive ever. No procrastination.
Yeah,
that's interesting. What about y'all? What would you want to be hypnotized for?
I think I would want to be hypnotized to becoming a morning person because I'm not a morning person. And today, I realized 10 minutes before I needed to start work that I was out of coffee. And I was like, man, this is going to be a tough day. So I'm drinking Earl Grey tea, which is not doing the job. But I'm trying to tell myself it is. But I think if I was hypnotized, I'd be fine.
I'm actually with you. I'm drinking Diet Coke because I'm out of my coffee machine's offline right now. So it's what am I? I'm tripling up on Diet Coke.
The epitome of
I
health.
know. Diet. So I love, honestly, I love Coke Zero. I just do. And I think I need to get a hypnotist to get me off that. Coke Zero.
There you go.
So you're going off of something there. Okay.
I need to get off. I got off it. I went to the doctor. I got off it. And the doctor's like, let me monitor your health. And he's like, nothing has changed. So I was like, all right, back to drinking it.
I say when I'll do I go shock and awe with health stuff. I'll go all in, get really healthy or whatever. And then at the end of that 3-4 months, whatever, and I haven't had Diet Coke the whole time. I love Diet Coke. I drink probably 4 liters of Diet Coke a day.
You drink as much as Carl Lentz does.
I'll drink.
Always drinks it.
I'll take that first sip of Diet Coke and it burns and it's awful and it feels like chemicals, but you have to push through, and then you get the taste back.
Go to McDonald's to spark it off.
Seems like great things are happening internally.
I just want to say you shamed me for my greasy Cheez-Its earlier, and you're inhaling chemicals.
Yes, they're delicious chemicals. Emily, what's your most embarrassing phobia?
Oh, that's really funny. I think we've talked about it before. I think it's me dying alone and no one knowing for 3 days.
That's not embarrassing, Emily. Emily, when you have a real talk, that's very likely. It's not embarrassing.
Very upsetting. I would say that's an upsetting phobia.
It's an upsetting.
And yet you guys are all holding back laughter, so I'm getting mixed signals here.
What about y'all? What's your most embarrassing phobia?
Donatella Versace.
What?
She scares me. She is.
Have you run into her?
She scares me. Growing up in Miami, we had the Versace mansion. It's a big deal. And she's always around. And if you see her in person, it's shocking. And it really scared me the first time I saw it. I've always had this, I had a dream about it. So then I got doubled it, give it to the next person type vibe and so anytime I see her, I shriek. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm being honest about it.
No,
Donatella Versace. Yeah, no, she's a beautiful person. But seeing her in life, it was very scary. I remember, my wife knows her and then Shakira. Those are my two people. Shakira, I just cannot stand. And my friend, Nicole, that's her cousin. She's cousins to Shakira. And one day I said that. I go, Shakira, I just can't stand her. She's like, that's my cousin. And I was like, okay, my bad. Well, I still can't stand her. Something about her just really throws me off. I don't know what it is.
I like that your phobias are just
humans
in general. Yeah. And not like them doing
her
anything
voice
to
annoys
you,
me, and it's a voice that creeps me out. And then the other girl, and then the other one, just her surgeries really just shock me. I don't know.
Jesse, what's your most embarrassing phobia?
Going to a grocery store that has arcane communist rules and not knowing them before I check out.
All right, last one. Here we go. We'll start with Marty. What are the best and worst things about being an adult?
Best thing, grown-up money. Worst thing, you can't be as naked as you used to be as a kid. You can't take your shirt off everywhere. You can't take off your pants when you want to. You got to have clothes on. You just got to have clothes on.
Jesse?
The best thing, I guess, driving. I don't know. Like the freedom of mobility. The worst thing is responsibility.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had to get a financial therapist.
Is that your wife?
Yeah.
You have to marry a financial therapist. Yeah, I kind of similar. I think the ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want, within reason. But I don't have to tell my parents anymore, despite what they want me to do. And then the worst, everything costs money. All the things that I want to do and I have the freedom to do, none of it's free.
Yeah.
And that's more the world in general than being an adult, but I think we should make things more free.
You can go to a park and spend time with God. That's free.
Yeah.
But I got to pay money to park gas to get there.
No, you can walk.
Every time I leave my house, I'm spending money. I think about that.
Buying a coffee when I leave.
There you go. All right, that'll do it for Table Topics. Well, before we wrap things up, I want to thank Chris McClarney for joining us. Make sure to check out his new single, Empty, wherever you get your music. And while you're at it, if you're over on Spotify, check out the Relevant Worship playlist. You'll find some Chris tracks in there as well. Also, make sure to check out issue 114 of Relevant. We have conversations with Brooke Lidgerwood, Need to Breathe, Rainn Wilson, Mike Todd, and so many others. You can read it for free at relevantmagazine.com. Just click on the magazine tab. It is presented by The Covenant, streaming now on Apple TV. All right, on that note, we'll wrap it up. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Emily Brown.
I'm Marty.
We will see you on Friday. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
I don't like anything that's over toasted. Just a hard and fast rule.
Relevant Podcast Network.